Well, folks, here we go again. It's Talking Bat. It is actually Talking Bat this time, and I am delighted, very, very happy indeed to be talking bat with my good friend Kelly Sheldrick. I've known Kelly for, goodness, a couple of years now at least that I can recall. And Kelly is coming on to the show today to talk all about a Christmas Island Marathon wildlife fundraiser. I'm just shattered seeing that. I've never done a marathon. I'm certainly not doing this marathon. Kelly is, and it's going to be in August this year, and we're going to be talking all about it in the coming hour or so. So sit back, stick on your headphones, and enjoy. Kelly, how are you today?
I'm really good, thanks, Neil. Thanks for the introduction.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I'm just really pleased that you're here. I'm really excited to learn all about what you're going to be doing. You told me about this a few months ago, and I think we both pretty much immediately thought, let's do a podcast or a webinar on something on this. So here we are. And you're still a couple of months away. No, maybe not quite a couple of months, actually. What about
No,
6 weeks?
it's
6 weeks, 5 weeks
yeah,
away? Yeah.
5 weeks, I think. Yeah, not too long now.
Oh, okay. We're going to talk about your training and all that shortly. But the first thing I want to do is just very quickly introduce you to our audience, okay? So, Kelly is currently the Citizen Science Programme Manager for the Conservation Council of Western Australia. She's got a diverse background, including working in climate change programme management, auditing, conservation, and ecology. Her interests include environmental awareness and education. She's got a particular interest in bat conservation, and she's also into habitat restoration and forest ecology. When she's not working, Kelly is an enthusiastic runner, hiker, and cyclist. We'll find out shortly if she's still quite as an enthusiastic runner as she might have been when she wrote this. And she's also cycled over 20,000 kilometers within Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and the Americas. So, quite a lot going on there so far in your life, Kelly. But what I want to do, I want to take you back to your childhood. And there's a lovely picture here of yourself with your mum. Were you always destined to be who you have turned out to be now? In other words, wildlife, fitness, all this kind of stuff. Where does all that come from?
To be completely honest, I have no idea. Yeah, no one else in my family really works in wildlife or conservation or the environment, and no one really in my family is that into fitness and running and cycling either. So I actually have no idea where it came from. When I was younger, I was very outdoorsy. I used to get very muddy, climbing trees, injuring myself. I remember my dad pushing me along in the wheelbarrow and counting all the spiders. And I actually really like spiders. So I think maybe that was a bit unusual for like an 8-year-old. But yeah, so to be honest, I have no idea where it came from. Yeah, it's just always been there.
Okay, amazing. Did you live in a particularly uh, rich, biodiverse area as a child? Where were you living? I'm assuming it
Uh,
was in Australia somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was born in Perth, and spent maybe the first 5 years of my life in the Perth Hills. We were in the suburbs, so we weren't that in the middle of the country or anything like that, but we did have quite a lot of orange trees out the back, and I think I used to climb them and used to find all kinds of animals roaming around in the back gardens. That was nice. I then spent some time in the UK when I was younger, and again we were just in a town, so not really in the country anywhere. And then I moved back to Australia when I was a teenager and grew up in the suburbs and in the north near the beach. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I've often wondered where it came from, to be honest.
Yeah, no, amazing, amazing. So how do you get into the, let's call it the wildlife sector or the ecology conservation sector? You obviously went through school. You went on to university. Talk about university and then how that then links up to you becoming involved in as a wildlife professional, so to speak. Yeah.
So yeah, I studied at Edith Cowan in Western Australia, studied environmental management, conservation biology, and started working for Conservation Volunteers Australia, which that was quite a few years ago now. I used to take out volunteers and just do various bits of conservation, restoration work. And then shortly after that, I moved to the UK and started to work in climate change management. And I used to audit wind farm projects overseas. And this was also quite a few years ago now, I guess. So I did that for a number of years. And yeah, kind of, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. So I dipped my toes into various different things, did a bit of science communication, and then while I was in the UK, I ended up getting back into ecology, starting first with like bat surveys. So this was in Bristol, and I was helping out with bat walks. And then I just ended up, well, I started doing that on the side, to be honest, as like after work, I'd go out and do some bat surveys. And then I ended up just moving back into ecology that way. So that was a few years ago now.
Okay, okay. And I was also reading somewhere that in amongst all of that, you're a qualified yoga teacher.
Yeah, I did wonder if you'd bring that up. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah, just why not?
Yeah,
When you
just
live in
just just throw
Bristol.
just throw that in as well. Okay, as if you're not
Yeah.
busy enough. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Any idea how old you are in this picture?
Sorry, I
Any
missed that.
idea how old you are in this picture here
Oh,
with your mum? I mean, you're looking. I think you're looking a combination of uh, cute but not particularly happy.
yeah, I'm not sure to be honest. So my parents are traveling at the moment, and I was trying to find a picture to send you, and this is the only one I could find.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'd been crying and probably, I don't know, I was probably up to something I shouldn't have been doing and got a telling off. And this is, I don't know, my dad felt like taking a photo of it, but he really liked this photo. But yeah, you're right. I should ask how old I was. I think I'm only about 2 or 3. That's in Australia and in the Perth Hills. So
Yeah, they've probably
yeah.
just extracted you from a tree or something, and you're just a bit peeved off that you want to go back up the tree or whatever.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, yeah. So you're currently Citizen Science Program Manager, Conservation Council, Western Australia. Just tell us a little bit about what that role involves. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Conservation Council of Western Australia, we're a not-for-profit with a peak body for environment and conservation in the state, which is a really big state. I don't think most people appreciate how big it is. Um, I was telling a few people the other day, we're bigger than Western Europe, about 10 times the size of the UK. So it's, yeah, a very, very big state. We've got a big job to do. And as part of that, we've got the Citizen Science Program, which is what I run, and that's where we go out into the community and engage with all the community groups and get them involved in community surveys and scientific research and help solve some of those knowledge gaps. We've got a couple of projects going on at the moment. So we've got one to do with little penguins on Penguin Island, which is just off the coast of Perth. And then also we've got the BAT program as well. So I ran a pilot over the summer, and we're also doing a bit around bat roosts and bat boxes as well. So they're the two main projects we have. And then we're also running a few bio blitzes as well throughout the year. So yeah, lots going on. Yeah, it keeps it fun. And the community here is really great. And there's just so many opportunities. I mean, we've got so many great habitats here and a lot of unknown as well. So yeah, lots to do.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I mean, okay, so you're talking about that's a single state within the country of Australia, and that state you said is what, 4 times the size of Western Europe? Did I hear that
Oh,
correctly? Yeah.
sorry, it's larger than Western Europe. It's
Okay.
about, yeah, it's 10 times the size of the UK.
Okay.
Um, And yeah, it's about the third of the total landmass of Australia. So it's, yeah, huge.
And I would imagine it's not teeming with ecologists in the same way that the UK is, for example. I would imagine ecologists, people interested in conservation, pretty thin on the ground, I would imagine, across a large part of that area. Is that a fair thing for me to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ecologists here, zoologists, botanists, not to the extent as in the UK, especially in the bat world. So a lot of the consultancies that do require bat surveys, they have to get their ecologists that specialize in bats from the eastern states because we just don't have the expertise in Western Australia. So yeah, we do have a bit of a skill gap, and across other areas as well, which is unfortunate, but it does mean there's lots of opportunities for anyone that does want to come over and work with bats in Western Australia. There's lots of work here.
Yeah.
We're moving into renewables, so there's lots of wind farms coming up all over the place. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Interesting stuff. Okay, okay. Right. So I think what we want to talk about now is the Christmas Island Marathon. Okay, folks. So a marathon is just over 26 miles. Um, this is going to take place on the 24th of August this year. And first of all, just to describe where Christmas Island is, I think everybody would know where Australia is, hopefully. And if you go northwest from Australia towards Indonesia, Malaysia, that kind of part of the world, and you go just south of those islands that make up the Indonesian group of islands. I think, is that right, Kelly? These islands here, is this all part of Indonesia, or have I called that wrong? Yeah,
Yeah, that's Java is I think the closest
yeah.
you
So you
can
got
see.
Java, yeah, and you just go south of Java in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Well, it's not in the middle of the Indian Ocean, but it's just in the Indian Ocean, in that area south of Java, you've got this place called Christmas Island. It is, I think I'm reading this map, roughly 2,000 kilometers from Perth, uh, probably about less than 1,000 kilometers south of Singapore, based on this map. Kelly, have you ever been to Christmas Island before?
No, not yet. This will be the first time. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. They do this Christmas Island marathon, and they've got various other runs that they do in Christmas Island as well. They have half marathons, they have 5Ks, stuff like that. Um, do you know much about the background to the event itself, where the Christmas Island marathon events series comes from? Are you able to talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know too much about the marathon. It was really the date that drew me to the run. So the weekend that the run is on, it's you might recognize the date maybe, but it's the same weekend as International Bat Night, and it's also going to be 50. It will be 15 years since the Christmas Island Pipistrelle went extinct, and that's when I saw that, I was actually looking for a half marathon to tell you the truth. And then I come across this marathon and I saw the date and I recognized the date and I was like, I can't not run this run now. Like I know like what happened 15 years ago and that was on Christmas Island and this is Christmas Island Marathon. And I don't know. I just felt like it was kind of like a sign. Not that I really believe in that, but I was like, I kind of have to run it. So I don't know too much about the marathon. I've yeah, picked it purely on the date and the location.
But what a marvelous combination, right, of uh, circumstances that's kind of brought you to this point. And folks, if you want to find out more about the background to the Christmas Island Marathon events, go to www.cimarathon.com. They've got a web page all about the runs and stuff that they do there. Very, very interesting. Talks about the history of the event and all this kind of stuff. Um, it's going to be pretty hot and pretty humid out there. Um, much hotter, I would imagine, than what you're accustomed to in Perth, and certainly what you would have been accustomed to in the UK. Have you done any sort of training that's going to allow for that? What's your thinking from that point of view?
So I have done a few runs in quite hot and humid weather recently, so I'm hoping that's going to be enough. I'm not too bad running in the heat as long as I've got water, so I think I should be okay. And I haven't done a trail run in a while, but yeah, again, I think it's going to be okay. I'll just kind of push through. But yeah.
Okay. And
I'll regret this later on, I'm sure. When I'm actually running it, I'll be like,
yeah,
wow, what am I doing? Why did I sign up?
yeah. Do you know, is it quite hilly? Is it mostly downhill? Does it start from the highest point of the island and you run all the way down the shore? That would be brilliant if it did that. Or is it undulating? Have you got any idea about that so far?
So there are some inclines. The island's only about 15 kilometers like from one end to the other.
Okay.
So I guess that's like I don't know, 11 miles or something.
Yeah.
I always mix when I convert. But so I think it's going to be a couple of loops, and it'll include a long incline and then a decline. And I think I maybe have to do that twice. So
Okay.
yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long are you going for before that show marathon starts? And are you staying for a little while afterwards? Or is it just a case of you just flying in, doing the marathon and then getting out again? What's your program from that point of view?
So there's only a couple of flights there each week. So I'll be flying in on the Tuesday and then flying out the following Tuesday. And while I'm there, I'm going to be doing a couple of events. I'm going to be doing a bat night. So although the Christmas Island Pipistrelle's got extinct, there's the Christmas Island flying fox, which is critically endangered, but still on the island. So I'm going to be running a bat night with Parks Australia. And I'm also going to be talking at a couple of, well, just the one school there, but through a couple of classes there as well about the Christmas Island Pipistrelle and also about the run. And I'm sure I'll fit in a few other things as well because there's a lot to see on Christmas Island, even though it is quite small. So, and of course the run, that's which one there for.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this event that Kelly is running. And it's all for charity. There's a chuffed.org page for donations. We ourselves at BatAbility will be making a donation over the next day or so as a thank you for Kelly's time today, and as a thank you for Kelly doing this brilliant cause, which we think is really, really worthwhile. But it's not all about just the Christmas Island Pipistrelle. I mean, the site itself at chuff.org is entitled Remembering the Christmas Island Pipistrelle Wildlife Fundraiser. We've got a picture of a Christmas Island Pipistrelle there on the video, for those of you that are watching the video, taken by Lindy Lumsden. But overall, the reason why Kelly is doing this is all around it being in honour of the 100 or so species that have gone extinct in Australia, including the Christmas Island Pipistrelle. And it's all with a view to raising awareness of biodiversity loss and the failure of policy to respond to a rapidly changing environment. Kelly, do you want to just talk a little bit more than what I've just given our audience there, a little bit more on the background as to why you're doing this and what you're seeking to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year when I moved back to Perth, I picked up a book in the library, and I do actually have this book here, so I can show it to you. It's this one.
Hold on, I'll just
Don't
get
know
that
if it's
up on
going
the
to be back
screen.
front, but
A Bat's End, the Christmas Island Pipistrelle and Extinction in Australia by, who's the author there?
John, and I'll probably pronounce his surname wrong, Wojnarowski.
Okay, okay. Right, so you picked up that book in the library, yeah?
Yeah, I picked it in the library last year, and it's all about well, as you just said, the Christmas Island Pipistrelle. So gives a bit of an overview, well, actually quite an in-depth overview of the history of Christmas Island as well, which if you're familiar with it, you'll know that it's quite a sad one. There's a lot going on the island. So I read this book. It was really hard to read. It took me over a month to get through, and I had to stop several times and have a little cry. It's, yeah, not the easiest read, but when I got to the end of it, I was like, that there are so many really important lessons in this book that we really need to learn from. And it's just, yeah, something that we really need to just remember and talk about. In the book, it features all the different bat researchers that kind of were involved in the Christmas Island Pipistrelle rescue attempt at some point. And one researcher that was mentioned is Lindy Lumsden, and she's the lady that actually first noticed the decline of the pipistrelle, and she worked with the pipistrelle for the next 15 years to the day that it actually went extinct, and she actually witnessed the extinction of that species as well. So when I finished the book, I sent Lindy an email and I just said, I just read this book. Thank you so much for like all the work that you've done. It must have been so difficult. I can't even imagine it. And she wrote back to me and she just said, like, thank you for your email. It was obviously very hard, and like it's still, even today, she still thinks about it. And she said the one thing that really struck her was the day the pipistrelle went extinct and the day after, she had all these media like inquiries, people contacting her, and it was like big news for about 24 hours. And then that was it. And that, like, she never really heard much after that, and it wasn't in the news. To be honest, at this time, I was at university studying conservation biology, and I don't even recall it getting a mention when I was like studying a course around it. So I'm like many other people probably didn't even realize this species went extinct. And like that really kind of stayed with me after Lindy mentioned that, because how are we going to learn all these lessons if we don't even recognize when the species go extinct? And every year we have these anniversaries pass where, well, not just the Christmas Island pipistrelle, but other species have also gone extinct. And we don't take a moment to like remember that or recognize that, and we just kind of forget that. And to me, that's really scary. And that's kind of why when I saw the marathon was on and it was on the same weekend as the 15 years since the pipistrelle did go extinct, I was like, oh, this is a really good opportunity to kind of start talking about it and just like remind people that, you know, it's really important to learn from these. They're really hard stories to remember, but the lessons are really important, because otherwise we're going to just lose lots of other species. So it's kind of from a really sad place, but I think, again, yeah, really, really important. And that's why I am going to go to the island and hopefully finish the marathon and raise some money for conservation as well. So the money is going to be split into two parts, and some of it's going to go to the Australasian Bat Society, and we're going to hopefully be able to fund a grant with that money, and that's going to go towards research into understudied bat species. So that's kind of the hope there. But we'll see. I need a lot more money to come in to make that happen. So hopefully people start donating.
Yeah, so folks, we're going to put underneath the video and also underneath the podcast in the podcast show notes, we're going to put links to various things we've been talking about today, most importantly, including the chuff.org link so that you can donate. And no matter how small a donation you make, I know that Kelly would be very, very appreciative of that. And it's not just about the donation. You know, if it's a small donation, it also just gives Kelly a little bit more encouragement that she's actually doing something good that's being recognised by people. Okay, so it's not just about the money, it's also the fact that when you're giving something, no matter how small, it's just like it's another tick in the Go Kelly Go box, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, how's the training going?
It's going all right. Yeah, I did have a bit of a setback. So I signed up to the marathon, and I think a couple of days later, I ended up with this virus that kind of dragged on for several weeks. So my training did take a little bit of a hit, but I am back training again. And yeah, everything seems to be okay. A little behind where I'd like to be, but I think I'm still going to be okay for the actual run. Like I said, I'll just push through and somehow cross the finish line.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're training for this, I mean, different people train in different ways. Okay. So I think most people going for a marathon gradually work up towards the distance. And for many people, especially people doing marathons as one-off, they don't actually do their first marathon distance until the actual day. You get other people that will actually train for a marathon knowing they can do the distance. So part of their training, they actually go beyond the marathon distance just to give them that confidence that they know that they can do the 26 plus miles. How are you doing this? Are you working gradually towards that distance, or do you already know that you can run that distance as things currently stand?
I would say I'm gradually working towards it. I usually go for like 80% of whatever the run is I'm doing.
Okay,
So yeah, and I think that will work for me. Maybe it's
yeah.
not the best, but yeah, it works for me. So
But a lot of people do it that way, and they do it that way
yeah,
successfully. And I
yeah,
suppose the adrenaline of taking part on the day gives you that extra determination to do, for example, if I can do 22 miles, I can do 26. Yeah. Albeit that last 4 miles will be painful, but to get so close to the end, I would imagine that just sheer determination gets you to the end. But there's also the danger that when you get caught up in the excitement of the event with all of these other runners, that you do something crazy, like you go off far too fast at the beginning or something like that. Yeah. So what's your thoughts for where you hope you're going to be mentally on the day at the start line? Is it just run your own race, so to speak? Is that what you're hoping to do?
yeah. There's only about 200 people running, so it's going to be there's not going to be too many of people. And I think that's 200 people running across all the different distances as well.
Okay.
So I'm not expecting to see a lot of people during the run. So I think I'm going to just be in my own little world running along, hopefully with positive thoughts most of the time. And yeah, like you said before, I'll just think about all the people that have actually sponsored me because that will keep me going because I don't like letting people down. So I'll feel like I have to finish it if people have actually sponsored me. And yeah, just also having a reason to run, I think really helps because it will keep you going. So I'll just if I feel like I don't know about to collapse, I'll just keep thinking about these things and keep going. And I imagine it's going to be a beautiful run as well. Like I love trail runs, so
Okay.
that will help.
Okay. Have you got any friends or family going over there with you, or are you traveling solo? Yeah.
So my partner's coming along with me, and he's just signed up to run as well. His training's probably not going as well as my training, seeing
He's
as he
just
only
he's
signed
just
up.
signed up and it's 5 weeks away.
Yeah, so he might end up
What's his name?
Michael Cowgill.
Right, Michael, you fool! What are you doing? Right, you should have thought about this 6 months ago. So is
Yeah.
the plan that he's going to run alongside you, uh, or is he going to be in front of you or behind you? What do you think?
I think he might be behind me, but he is quite tall, so he's got quite good stride. He might. He does walk quite fast as well, so there is a chance that his walking pace is going to match my running pace.
Excellent. Well, apart from anything else, it's just going to be really good to have somebody there with you that's going to encourage you and yeah, just be there with you at the time. And yeah, yeah. So it's a picture here of you and a friend out for a run, I believe. I think this is Carly, is it, in the UK? Sorry, is it Carly, if I pronounced that
Yeah,
correctly? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Carly.
right, so you're both kind of holding up the peace symbol, so to speak. Tell me a little bit about this picture. I take it Carly's quite a enthusiastic runner, is she? Yeah.
No, so Neil, you asked me to send you some photos of me training, and I didn't have any photos. So I dragged my good friend Carly out with me for a run, and she's never been on a run before. So she kindly came along to take some photos of me running, and she she is actually a photographer, so she had me running quite a lot. I think she must have. I think I must have about 500 photos of me running now, so I don't need to take any more. She had me running up and down. She's like, the lighting's not great. Go back, run another one. And
Uh,
I'm not sure she didn't pick this photo either. So I'm sure if she watches this, she'll probably say, Kelly, why did you pick that photo? That's terrible.
so how did she get on with her run then? Her first run ever? Did she enjoy it? Did she kind of think this is a lot harder than taking pictures? What was her thoughts there?
Yeah, to be honest, she did really well. She doesn't think she did really well, but she did actually do really well.
Yeah. Okay, Carly, if you're listening, good stuff. That's a brilliant story. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so I think that is taking us almost to the end. It's been fascinating learning about this, Kelly. I'm wishing you all the very, very best with it. I'm quite sure on your social media and on the Conservation Council of Western Australia's social media, I'm quite sure there'll be announcements as to how well you did and how much money was eventually raised. I know that you've got a target of, is it 20,000 Australian dollars? Is that right? Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so you're making reasonably good inroads towards that, but you're still quite a bit off the target. I'm assuming you're going to keep that donation page open for a good length of time after the run so that people afterwards, say a month or two later, could still be donating. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it open until at least the end of October, end of September, sorry. I'm doing a few talks. I'm doing one actually for the Wiltshire Back group that's going to be an online talk, and it's just purely going to be about the story of the Christmas Island Pipistrelle, some of the lessons we can learn. I'll also talk a little bit about the Christmas Island flying fox and a little bit about bats in Western Australia as well. So yeah, hoping these talks will also generate a little bit of donations towards the fundraiser, but also we'll be able to share some of these lessons because, like I mentioned before, there's lots of really important lessons that we can really learn about. So, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're, I don't know, I guess keep an eye out for that online talk if you want to learn a bit more about the Pipistrelle and Christmas Island.
Sounds good. Sounds good. If you make me aware of that when you're doing it, we'll certainly promote it through our social media as well. Okay, to get as many people onto any of those talks you're doing. So please just drop me links or whatever, and we will stick them up on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We'll stick them up on all of our feeds, and every little helps, doesn't it? So yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, folks, that's Kelly Sheldrick doing a marathon in honour of the Christmas Island Pipistrelle, now extinct, but also in an attempt to try and ensure that wildlife that's currently with us doesn't go the same way. And a very, very worthy cause. And I've really enjoyed talking to Kelly today. But the first time we've spoken to each other, and it's just been really, really good. But what I would say, despite the fact that I know Kelly pretty well prior to today, I've actually learned a whole load of new stuff about her that I didn't know before. So that's been pretty exciting from my point of view, also. So, Conservation Council of Western Australia, you can also visit their website at ccwa.org.au. So definitely worth a visit there. Definitely worth a visit to the Christmas Island Marathon website that we mentioned earlier. And most importantly, remember that what's it called again, Kelly? The organisation that it's chuff.org. Yes.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The chuff. I was going to say a different thing there, and I thought that's not right. That's not right. It's chuff.org. Visit chuff.org in order to make any donation whatsoever. I know that Kelly would be greatly appreciative of that. Kelly, to close things off, can I ask you to say a few words to our listening audience? And that'll be the end of today's session. Thank you, Kelly Sheldrick. Over to you.
Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I hope you donate and hopefully see you at one of the Pipistrelle talks either next month, the month after. And yeah, hit me up if you're in Western Australia as well. Thanks everyone.